Now that we've solved exponential equations, we need to turn to exponential inequalities. So our objective is to solve exponential inequalities. The steps for this, first of all, you need to remember that you've got to follow the rules for solving inequalities. The main one is to remember if you multiply or divide by a negative on both sides of an inequality, it flips the inequality symbol over. Now to do our steps here, we want to get a common base that's greater than 1. The reason why it has to be greater than 1 is if you remember our rules for exponents, if you have something in the denominator, then when you bring it up to the numerator, it makes it a negative exponent. Well, if that's the case, if you've got an exponent that has a negative in it, that could impact this rule here of the rules for solving inequalities. So if we just remember that whenever we have a denominator, let's convert it into something that's in the numerator with a base, and then we can use the rest of these steps. So always have a common base greater than 1, not using fractions, for instance, a half or something like that. Second of all, drop the bases and set up the inequality with just the exponents, and then we solve. So here's an example. Let's first of all get the same base on both sides. We're going to use 7 as our base here. So I'm going to make this 7 to the x minus 6 power greater than 7 squared. Now they have the same bases. What you can do is just drop the bases and write the inequality. X minus 6, keep the greater than 2. Add 6 to both sides and x is greater than 8. Those will be the values that will make this a true statement if x is greater than 8. Now it makes sense. If you put in 8, it's going to be 8 minus 6 will be 2, so that's a 49. So they'd be equal, and anything larger than 8 is going to make it so that the inequality is true. Let's do this next one. Notice that I'm going to use here a base of 2, so I'm going to have 2 to the 5 minus 4x is greater than or equal to 2 to the negative third. Now notice that negative third comes from 8 being 2 to the third, and then when you move it up to the numerator, it becomes a negative. Now we have the same base, it's larger than 1. We're going to drop the bases, just set up the exponents in the inequality. I'm going to go ahead and subtract 5 from both sides. So I'm going to get a negative 8. And now what I'm going to do is, once I've got that, I'm going to divide by negative 4. So we want x, the inequality is going to flip directions. It'll be a less than or equal to, and it becomes a positive 2. So now, anytime you put in a number less than 2, it's going to set this inequality to be a correct statement. So the steps to do, remember, are to make sure you follow the rules for inequalities, and then it's pretty much like solving for equations. You don't want to get the same base on both sides, but you want the base to be larger than 1. Drop the bases, set up the inequality with just the exponents, solve it, and then you've got your answer to your exponential inequality.